Okay for me to start?
Sure, yeah.
Is our applicant ready for me to start? Okay, let's get going. All right, if you could adjust your mics, please. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. Today is February the 15th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. or 1 minute after. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you're hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, second floor, on 6:30 p.m., Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. Please note that this meeting will be recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, subsection 20. Anyone taping this meeting to please make their presence known. And if I could please ask everyone, I'm one of the worst offenders. I'm getting into better habits these days. Your cell phones, just so they're not ringing while we're here. I always catch somebody. It's usually me. Okay, calling the meeting to order. We do not have any alternate members, but Commissioner Laura Cronin. Here. Commissioner Tom Doherty.
Here.
Commissioner Mark Despotopoulos.
Here.
Who is also clerk. Commissioner and Vice Chair Jack Kay.
Here.
And I, Cheryl Powell, Chair and Commissioner, is also here. Thank you. Can I ask staff to also please identify themselves and
Karen
introduce?
Herron, Planning and Development.
Sorry, just needed the mic.
Jim Kupfer, Senior Planner, Planning and Development.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have any special guests at the moment. Trainings, no awards, we'll be taking care of that in the spring. We have correspondence, but it's in relation to our applicant. I do want to say that two people went before the appointments committee last night for the HHDC, so it'll go to the town council for 2 readings as per normal, and might be in good shape. And I also know there's another person in the waiting for the next meeting, so we could be quite busy. And from what my understanding, they're all great people, so we'd love to have them. Okay, I am going to remind. Every once in a while I do this, just to keep us focused. And that is the HHDC. I'm doing this on all the things I serve on, just to kind of bring us back to baseline. The purpose of our commission is to promote the educational, cultural, economic, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Barnstable and the town's unique community character through the preservation and protection of the distinctive characteristics of building structures and places significant in the history and architecture of Barnstable, and through the preservation, maintenance, and improvement of appropriate settings or for such building structures and places, and the encouragement of new design with the existing historical and community character, and through the benefits resulting to the economy of said town by preserving and enhancing the amenities and historical aspects of the various villages and areas which make Barnstable a desirable place to live and for tourists to visit. That is our purpose. It's defined for us. So I am going to then go on. And by the way, it's always up to the appointments committee and then 2 readings, so we don't know whether those will come on. But, it sounds promising. So we have continued business. The Town of Barnstable Planning and Development Department for the approximate locations at 328, 386, 438, 462, 514, and 612, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places on Main Street, Hyannis. This is continued from the January 18th meeting and also from the February 1st, 2023 meeting. And if I could ask the gentleman who's here to represent to introduce himself, please.
Hi, I'm Kyle Pedicini, Community and Economic Development Planner for the Town of Barnstable.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for coming back to us and being so patient.
Thanks for having me.
So if there's any way we can accommodate, we've already addressed, if you need the screen and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again. So again, Kyle Pedicini for the record from the Planning and Development Department. So We were here before you guys, I think it was about a month ago, and presented the original application for this proposal. We heard some concerns raised by the commission. I think one of the biggest ones was the scale of the project. So in response to that concern, we have scaled it back. We're going to go from 6 locations to 4 locations. Instead of having them be 8 by 40, they're going to be 8 by 20, so they'll only take up 1 parking spot now instead of 2. And the materials would remain the same that we were originally proposing, of the black steel framing with black mesh so you can see through it. There'll be 1 bench instead of a picnic table in it. The flooring will be gray. The shade sail will be navy. And there'll be string lights attached from them. In your packet, we tried to provide you with a rendering to see like how it would look like just juxtaposed to the street view. So this is the location we're looking at from the first image to give you an idea. So it would go in that first parking spot right there. And it would have a bike rack. As we discussed last time, this is really to kind of increase the multi-mobility of the main street and to enhance the trolley service in partnership with the Cape Cod RTA. There is a letter of support from the Cape Cod RTA I believe you guys received. And I also heard from Elizabeth Warpaint from the Hyannis bid this afternoon. She said they brought this up at their board meeting. I think it was this morning or last night. And, they're in favor of it with some caveats that, to make sure that it's policed and cleaned up and yeah, it turns into an amenity instead of something else. And I'd also like to point out that, this is a flexible operation. They're only going to be up seasonal, and they're easy to take down and move if need be for anything. So yeah, and with that in mind, I'm happy to take any questions.
Can I ask you a question about the anchorage?
Sure.
Do they have an anchor that you, like a wedge bolt or something that's holding them down in the wind?
That's a good question. I'd have to get back to you on that. I'd have to look into the specifications of it. I do know that it's designed to be sturdy and be able to withstand a collision potentially, and then it's also designed to not interfere with any sort of drainage on the street, so there's no issues with that. I'd have to get back to you on the
All right,
anchorage.
and my guess is they're going to put wedge anchors in. It looks like they've got base plates on the posts, so they're probably going to anchor them.
Sounds like you know better than myself.
And
Architect, in all fairness, so here's an advantage.
I apologize for that.
No. Hey, it's true. Can I ask Jack a question? These things here, these wedge anchors that you're talking, I take it that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
How do those work?
You drill a tight hole so that they go down into the hole.
So you do drill, it looks
Drill.
like you drill a hole as opposed
You
to
drive them in,
suction cup or something.
and then when you start to tighten the top, it pulls the sides of the anchors, tries to pull them up, and they literally wedge into it. They're nearly impossible to get out.
It's a very pertinent question considering this is hurricane country. Northeast or more often, of course, but, okay. Any other questions from the commissioners with regard to the presentation?
Do we know how many people ride the trolley right now?
Yeah, so there was some, I don't know if it got into your packet, but I think the ridership was 5,700 last summer. In terms of total rides. It was about 2,300 in the months of July and August. And the idea is to increase the visibility of the trolley service, to increase that number, to make it more successful going forward. And there's going to be probably some, some signage on the trolley and that matches it on these parklets to kind of brand it a little bit better so people are aware of it.
Another concern of mine is if, there's studies right now that they're going to go into two-way traffic on Main Street and South Street. Is this going to, do you think this will affect the traffic flow?
So that's a good question. The nice part about it is that they're flexible and they can be moved. And that's why we're also thinking about 4. So if it does go to two-way, there could be 2 on either side of the streets, and we'll space them out so there's not issues on terms of traffic flow. With the two-way discussion, there's also going to be additional loading zones and whatnot. So I don't know how that would come into play, but we'd have to look at that. For the time being, we're just planning for existing additions, but certainly the flexibility of it makes it such that they're going to be adaptable if it does come to that point. I don't know if Jim wants to explain.
And did you say last time that these are in existing trolley stop places right now?
Correct, yeah. The locations were picked based off of ridership hotspots for the Cape Cod RTA, so where most people got on and off.
The existing trolley system is waved down, so the trolley is moving at a slow speed and just kind of
Sounds like Jim knows.
evaluates the sidewalk as it goes. So this actually may potentially speed up the process because there's dedicated locations now as opposed to a trolley driver just taking a peek around.
Never seen that many people waiting for a trolley that they need this area.
Appreciate Jim adding that. I didn't even know that. I appreciate Jim adding that additional information.
You know, it's very hard to see what this is gonna look like. You know, it's black. You know, you're gonna have a blue top. It's hard for me to visualize what it's gonna look like on Main Street. Is it gonna be attractive? Is it not gonna be attractive? I don't know. A bike rack, do we need a bike rack?
Well, again, the idea is to encourage multi-mobility, so
If you have a bike, or you'd probably drive your bike downtown instead of hopping on a trolley, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, the idea is to encourage multi means of transit, so that's the idea behind the bike rack.
And we have a schedule, it's gonna be the same schedule it is now, or it's gonna be increased schedule, or?
Still, they're going to be seasonal, yeah. So I think it's Memorial Day through Labor Day or Columbus Day, I forget which one.
I think it's Columbus, but I'm not,
Columbus.
well, it's not, it's Juneteenth now, isn't it? But,
Indigenous peoples, yes.
yeah, yeah. October, right.
Do you have I'm very interested in how this thing is gonna get back down to the other end of Main Street. Is it gonna go out there?
In terms of the trolley actual route?
Yeah, it's gotta come back.
Yeah,
It's
let me
only
show
a
you. I'll show
one-way
you.
route.
Yeah, I'll show you the route.
Yeah, so
Goes
as,
down,
I'd
it
like
goes
to
down
see
to the
that too.
beach.
yeah, so as Kyle's pulling it up, I mean, this is there's no change to the trolley system whatsoever.
It goes down.
Yeah, there you go. So it goes down Main, it loops down to South, goes down Old Colony,
All
stops
right.
at Calmus, shoots down Ocean Street, and then back around.
Well, that's the first I've seen that.
Yeah, so it's a neat amenity, the trolley. You wave it down as it's
What it
going
looks
by in the
like,
summertime. It stops for a while at Calmus from time to time. I see that down there quite a bit.
I used to live on Ocean Street, I used to see it all the time. It is a very quaint looking, very characters.
Do you think?
How
Do
long
you
does it
think
take the guy to go the whole route?
Right, yeah.
Depends on what part of the tourist season you're in.
I think they say it's a 45-minute schedule, right?
Especially sometimes when the ferry lets
Pretty
out.
quick.
Yeah.
Unless it's the
Do we
4th of
need to-
July, then it's 3
I don't know, do you think we need a 20 by 8 black, really box, you know, on, 4 places on Main Street? For the amount of ridership that we're gonna get, wouldn't it like a nice wooden pole with a trolley on top of it, just, specify this is a trolley stop instead of, a bike rack and benches and, I don't know, I just don't know if it's all needed.
Commissioner Cronin.
I'm kind of in the same kind of thought process with Tom, and one of the things that I was going to ask is how far apart are they, but it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't really matter, because it looks like what we're trying to do is increase ridership on the trolley. But one thing that we are charged to do, too, is to make sure that we keep the character of Hyannis in the downtown village, and whether or not this is actually going to enhance that unique character and preserve the historic, nature of what we're trying to do. And one of the things that I know at Martha's Vineyard, they have trolleys and buses all over the island, and they don't have any thing like that where you catch the bus or you catch a trolley or wherever that is. They have signage, and what they do have is maps and pamphlets everywhere. So if you were going anywhere, like we have the new signage all the way around town, I think they started doing that last year, you would see where that bus transit was going to be, and you went there to do it. And at the same time, as my daughter and I were walking to the next stop, we actually saw the shops, we actually did some shopping, whereas I'm wondering if this might, number one, increase the traffic stoppage, but also prohibit or miss that opportunity for anybody walking down, let's say, from where it is down in, on the corner by Pizza Balbone to where the Candy Corner is. There are all those shops all the way down there that, is somebody really going to take that to get to the next stop versus hailing it down, which, you know, Martha's Vineyard doesn't even do that. You have to be at that area where they want. And you have to also only load and unload in certain areas on their main streets and on their main roads. So it is a little bit more of a, that looks more of a, like of a characteristic of how you might want to have a village approach look. I get the bike racks, and I think that does increase the modular or the mobility, but that's needed anyway, with whether you have those parklets or not. And I think that could be something that you might want to look to use those funds for, because I see this more of a, trying to spend some money for the trolley, but is it really necessary for the trolley? Can we find other ways to, make its awareness? I mean, the people here didn't know where the trolley was, the route, and especially at Christmas time, it gets a huge amount of people using it. Well, number one, it's cold, so if you're down at Soho and you want to get up to the Cocoa, down up at that 500 block, you'll take the trolley, and then you'll just hop right off, but they're very accommodating in doing that. So you can, right now, you could get on at Soho Gifts, and then you could just wave them and say, I want to get off at Candy Corner, or I want to get off there. But people don't know that. I don't think sitting in a box is going to help them enhance that. The other thing you have is that if people are waiting for 45 minutes for that trolley to come back, are they going to wait, or are they just going to continue walking on, which is what we want to encourage, especially in the summertime. One of the advantages when I first moved down here, one of the things I used it for was to get to the beach. So we didn't have our beach sticker. I didn't want to pay the parking thing, so I picked it up on the corner of C Street and went all the way down to Calmus, and it was a really nice. And when I had visitors down, they could do the same thing. They didn't have to walk all the way down to Calmus. So I think there's ways to do it rather than having it interfere with the village character or downtown Hyannis character. I appreciate the change in size and the lighting and all of that, but I just think that from a characteristic standpoint, if you're going to preserve the unique characteristics, I think it might be better off with signage, and if they want to increase the trolleyship, then that's my opinion. It would be a different aspect. And just one other feedback was, I think there was somebody that was here last time, they said, well, gee, does it go to the other villages? And that would be a tough ride. But we do have an RT bus that does go to the other villages, and I think that could be, something that, no, it wouldn't, but maybe you extend a second trolley down to the beaches if you want to increase the ridership. But I would have to say that I'm a little concerned with it matching our objective and keeping in the unique characteristic of the downtown Hyannis district. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? And don't let me forget to go to staff. Interrupt me if you need to. Any other commissioners have any questions with regard to the presentation? Jim, do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
say something?
Yeah, so with this project here, so I would respectfully disagree in terms of the character of the neighborhood, and looking at the regulations. Site amenities are encouraged, street furnishings are specifically encouraged to draw attention and enliven the street. Benches are encouraged to be made of wood or metal. Landscaping, planters, street lighting, and bike racks are actually specifically all called out here. Bike racks should be black metal and have minimal design. So I think, what the department and the applicant is trying to do is, go right down our regulations and confirm that it meets each and every one of them. I think it's really meant to be enlivening Main Street, and so this is one opportunity to do so. Encourage safety in terms of additional lighting. That's what I hear nonstop is safety is number one concern at night. So adding lighting and dedicated locations for safe access. that's just, I just want to highlight that's, these are verbatim from the regulations. And so I would just request that you consider that when discussing. And also, I think it's pertinent to note that, this design, actually, it's a little, it flipped the Smith Family Popcorn, who came at the last meeting, actually stole our design. We told them this is what we're doing, and they grabbed all the features that we were talking about and added to theirs, which is good because we have continuity at least. So the shade sails and the furniture fixtures, the decorative lighting, all of that will carry through to new developments that are coming forward. So those are just some suggestions that, in reviewing Kyle's application, just going down and matching it, I just offer that for consideration.
I have questions, but I always try to leave mine till last. Anyone else? Commissioner Doherty, you look like you're turning to ask another question?
No, yeah, you brought up that, the group that was in here was going to put in the beer garden. They're putting up structures, also, but they're nice wood structures, and I think they were more in fitting with the town. This is very cold to me, and again, it's just something on photoshopped, really. And I just don't see it's going to help the character of the town. I agree with Laura. I think there's other ways we can do this to increase the ridership. And lighting, I'm a big one for lighting. I think we should have more of the lighting we had, the more the better. Even on buildings, we should have uplighting on some of them. But, this is, only 4 stops with, a few lights on it. I don't think that's really going to enhance too much lighting for safety. I think they're still oversized for the amount of traffic you're going to get. And I personally would like to see something simpler.
I think this is simple, but it's almost simple out of character type thing.
Sorry?
I do think this is simple because it's just straight lines. I just think it's kind of, I got maybe a little too simple without the character part. But and I'm sorry, I didn't want to say anything before anyone else had a chance to. Jim, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it for now. Thank you.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, did this not start out as 10?
6.
6. It was, I knew it came to 6, but I thought for some reason it was 10 and then went to 6. So now it's gone down to 4. And can I ask you for a clarification, please? Because trying to get to the dots, and I tried zooming and everything else.
Yeah.
Would you mind, it looks like this, it looks like one is at the end of Pine Street, but would you mind?
Yeah,
clarifying where
no
these
problem.
are?
So I just showed you the first one.
Let me go through all 4, please.
Yep. So the first one was at Cacades, the first stop. Oops. Yeah, so that's the first stop right there.
Is that on the map?
Yeah, so yeah.
Dragon Light,
All right,
that's Candy Corner,
one more.
Pizza Barbone, and
That
that's,
should be the Katie's one, I believe.
no, Katie's is up here.
Oh, no, Katie's.
Oh, Katie Burger.
Yes.
Oh, Katie
Yeah,
Burger.
yeah.
I thought it was the ice cream place. I'm like,
The second one
Okay.
is in front of Kilwins, or near Kilwins Ice Cream, so it's in this area. I have the exact.
And none of these are taking over handicap spaces, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Pizza Barbone. Katie's.
It looked to me, although I could be wrong, that it was going to be somewhere here in front of Pizza Barbone, but I couldn't tell because I was trying to get the dots
Yep,
from where they were.
yep,
But I could be wrong.
yep. So I think it's,
I'm wrong,
yeah.
it's back there.
It's this one, I think.
Okay.
Yep. This spot.
Kilwins.
Yep.
We don't have one in front of Kilwins, not on this map here.
Yeah, it's the
This one
second
here?
one.
The what?
This map here is hard to distinguish, that's why I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
see on
Pizza-
something
yeah,
there.
Pizza Barbone, yeah.
Yeah, Kilwin, that's the Kilwins one.
Oh, okay.
They're next to each other. And then the third
Can
one.
we just bring in the Kilwins, where
Yeah, Kyle, could we go to the street view there?
Yep.
So,
It looks like it's a candy corner.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was looking.
so Kyle, if we could pause right there real
Yep.
quick.
So none of these are blocking crosswalks, right?
Correct.
So that would be at basically the space that's vacant right now, Kyle?
No, the one that this one is
So
in.
that one, okay.
Yeah.
So, again, not to
I see the
to
kill windows.
reiterate the issues, but the street furnishings are recommended to be very similar to, as you see, Pizza Barbone, the black metal.
All right, ready for the third one?
Yes, please. Is everybody okay for the third one?
Third one is,
Thank you for doing this, I just wanted to get the visual.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
tried for half an hour.
third one is this spot right here.
And that's candy corner on the left, is
Correct.
it not?
Yep.
Okay, so it's that spot there. Only thing that might bother me there is if you have the, but I think that's private entrance, isn't it, this little alleyway?
Yes.
So it's not gonna block people well, it could do, people coming out if you have two-way traffic. That's the only thing that concerns me there, but, okay.
All right.
Yep.
And we good on the third location?
I
And
think
then,
that was the
yeah, yeah.
fourth.
And then the fourth one.
Looks like it's at the end, on Pine Street intersection.
Yep, down by Dragon Light.
C Street.
Well, that's C Street. I thought one was at the end of Pine, across from the old Wings and Columbus and that sort of thing.
One of the original one was, but that was one of the ones we cut off.
Oh, okay.
This one shows down by Dragonlight.
Yeah, right about there.
And again, not blocking that,
Yep, so I'm just trying to get the exact spot.
I just don't want a trolley being there and stop with people to block, people coming in on these
Yep.
roads and you can't see incoming traffic.
That one is right here, where this red
Okay,
car
I know,
is.
by the toys place.
Uh-huh.
So those are the four.
Yep, correct.
Thank you for clarifying that. And are the establishments that are there aware of that? Have they made any comments?
Yep, we've been working with the bid to make sure they're aware of that, and certainly if there was any issues, that's why it's nice that they're flexible. They would certainly address any issues as they arise, but yeah, we've been working with the bid. This also predates me, the outreach to the business community, and we're planning on doing additional outreach if this was approved.
So it's all on one side of the street?
Correct.
And the, heading up towards the West End Rotary, right-hand side.
Yep, because that's where the door for the trolley is.
So you're working with the bid, but do we know if the businesses are okay with that being outside? Because it's their livelihood.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Elizabeth Warpain relayed that it was brought up at a bid board meeting, I think this morning. And they had some concerns expressed about making sure that it doesn't become an undesirable amenity with, transit populations hanging out there. And they were assured, we'll work with our community resource officers that are seasonal, that only work this time of year, to make sure that they keep an eye on it. The bid will make sure to add it to their cleanup list. So with those caveats, they were comfortable.
Okay. I think I've had my question. Thank you for clarifying this. Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment for the huge amount of public we have here. And I'll leave it open until there's a motion. So unless there's any further questions, can I ask the commissioners what they think of it?
I haven't wrapped my head around it yet, because I kind of have the same kind of concerns, although I understand the validity of it. I do, I get it, but I don't know how comfortable I am yet. I don't know what's gonna make me comfortable.
You said the store owners were notified, like, if I was a store owner, and we had trolleys moving people past my store, instead of walking past my store, I don't know, I think I would be concerned. I understand, if people wanted to get from one end of town to the other, a trolley service. I know, when you go to Main Street, you want to walk Main Street, that's where I go. And I don't want to jump on a trolley and go to, if I wanted to go to the other end of town, I would have parked down the other end of town and, gone there. And I know they're tourists, and that's what we're after, but I don't know, I have a lot of questions about it. That's all.
Okay. I thought you were waving your hand, but, okay. Anyone else? Jim?
Yeah, so just to Mr. Doherty's point, I just want to reiterate the commission charges to reflect on the structure that's presented to you, the new design and how it fits in the character. The concerns of trolley service and whether it's an appropriate mode of transportation. I think the town as a whole wants to support our RTA as much as possible, and they want in turn to support the town and their projects, as you see by the recommendation or the letter of support, excuse me. So again, in terms of whether or not the trolley line is an appropriate line, I think, again, if we could, whatever motion you do determine, if we could, focus on the guidelines and regulations and the structures present before you.
But isn't that our responsibility as well when the items before us are in a parking spot, for example, instead of on, like when we had the family beer garden come before us, it was on their property, and that makes a lot of sense to us, that would be where we could take those things into consideration. And if they were putting signage up around town, the RTA and all of that, that makes perfect sense. But it's kind of like this structure, there's nothing like it on Main Street right now. There's no bus stops on Main Street right now. There aren't any in any of the other villages, too. The only time we see a bus stop is if you see them on the RTA on 132 or, some of the bigger stops for the line. But from a character standpoint, just making sure that the structure is the same material, how does this commission deal with something like that without these concerns of interrupting the character? Because the more you put out for people to sit in, Hyannis is unique in that, unfortunately, it has that uniqueness where it does have a huge transient population that none of the other villages deal with. And to encourage that type of, because the trolley doesn't run all night, and so you have from the time that they're not running or that the resource officers aren't there, it's just encouraging I don't see how it encourages the character of the village. So aren't we able to also look at it in that perspective instead of just saying, well, it's the same material, it's the same color, but yet it's taking up a parking spot, there's other, is it really enhancing the characteristic of a downtown Hyannis historic? And we'd have to say, if you want to put it like near the transportation center, which is outside of the historic, or at the end of the Rotary, where it's outside the historic. Those are areas where that's not something in our purview, but within that small area that we have between that and the waterfront, I'd like to try to keep it so that we do encourage that characteristic, like any other village would be able to do that. Is that still within our?
Yeah. So, yes, it's certainly the discretion of this board, the sitting board, as to how you interpret your regulations. In terms of site location, I just simply my recommendation to the commission is simply to refer back to the guidelines that are present before you and determine whether or not site location is adequate or inadequate and why. Materials are adequate, inadequate, and why. Height, massing, whether it's adequate or inadequate. And that's what I'm referring to. So in terms of, whether or not, in terms of enlivening the street, for instance, one could say maybe it doesn't enliven the street, and here's why. And so interpreting and making those findings, I think, are more than adequate, absolutely.
Okay.
But my only recommendation was just simply to refer back to the regulations. That's all.
And just one more comment, because we did talk about some of the businesses right now. We do have a lot more of the corrals or stuff around their stores so that you can have that outside seating, or giving that interest to come into my store, whether they're using, the appropriately placed signage or planters and stuff, and that is for their, and they're doing that to maintain it, and that's their business, so they're getting business from that versus, a structure being put up. I guess that's kind of where the difference is. I don't see this as the same thing as you see those fencing and the planters, in front of those things like that. So that's why when I looked at it, I said that's kind of where I was coming from. That
Yeah, part of our determination is if a structure is, compatible with the surrounding areas. That's right in what we read last week.
And I don't think if it was made out of wood, it would make a difference.
No,
For me, I just want to make sure I was clear on that. And it is, it's on the street, so.
And I am concerned about the anchorage, because that's all it takes is a good storm, and those things go flying. I don't know how heavy they're gonna be, but that's all you need is one of those things going into the street.
Well,
If you get a good nor'easter or something happens.
Sorry, go
Is
ahead.
the roof removable? I mean, other than taking it away and storing it for the winter?
Yeah, it's a shade sail, so yeah.
It's a shade,
yeah.
okay. I'm sorry, Jim.
No, I was just going to reference for the anchoring, so it needs to meet building code wind loads, technically snow loads, so it's not going to, it wouldn't be out in the snow, but yeah, it would need to meet all those codes.
So, I want to go last, so is anything else? And then I'll come back, of course, if anyone has anything else. Jim, did you have anything else?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you for going from 6 to 4. It was my mistake. I thought we went from 10 to 6 and then from 6 to 4, so I'm thinking, yay. Thank you very much. I know everybody's put a lot of work into this. I always try to make things work somehow, but I can't, because we're still dealing with it, I can't go around and ask each business what they think. But I know a lot of the business owners on Main Street, and I do ask, what's your key issue? And they know me and they know what I do. And they say, if we're not talking about mental health, we're talking about, Main Street. What's important to you? And hands down, 9, if not 9.5 out of 10, it's parking. And I get it. That's the livelihood that they have. That's why I'm so glad you went down to 4. I hear what everybody says. I agree with you. It's a bit austere. I think in mind the project that went down on the waterfront that had those wood things that you look out. And I have yet to see people in them. I may just go down at the wrong time. They walk
Expedition
around.
Blue,
They
yeah.
walk around them. They don't go in them. It's kind of, what is this? And they don't want to look through this little peephole. They want to look at the landscape. So I think it's workable. I don't like, this is my personal opinion, but obviously it's a vote for everybody. But I think what I would be interested in seeing, I love the lights. I love the lights of, the things they put hanging from the trees and all that. And I like the fact that it's what they call their soft white, because I think it keeps it, it's not blaring in your face. And at the same time, I think it's very warming. I'm just sitting here, and I'm going to ask you to forgive my artwork. My daughter's the artist. If she were doing this, you'd have something you could frame. This is scribble. But what I'm thinking might work, and I'm kind of putting it to the commission how they think. Take the idea as a possibility. What I see here is something that in a storm, a northeaster or something, it's gonna be like a sail, because it'll come up, it'll lift, it's canvas, it comes back, but you've also got the sides. But, and I understand the character. What about going to the super historic character, having the same type of thing, and the bike racks and that, and the lights? I forgive my artwork, but if you take the, it's just a suggestion, I think, I don't know how the others would feel about it. Take away this stuff, take away that, so it doesn't have a top, or maybe a top on the side, or something you can go over, reel in like a pool cover if it's rainy. Take away these sides, it's already iron. It is iron or steel?
Steel.
Sorry, so it's steel. But you know how the old historic scroll work has the, you know, things on the side, so they're somewhat open so that the wind will go through it? And then, you know, my artwork is pathetic. But if I, you know, how a lot of them, you wouldn't want kids going through it, but, you know, something on some sort of scroll work, ornate historical type thing, so it's still safe. I think it might add to the character and still be historical. I see this as very modern, but it still serves the same purpose if it has a historical look to it.
So basically open the sides up more, is that kind of what?
The sides and the top, and have the, I have some in my house, and if I have a wall, because I've done it on a captain's seam, and in the corners, again, pathetic, but it's like a wood piece that goes in on the corners, and it has the scroll work, and it's ornate, in, you know, going into some of the more, the living room, dining room, and that side of thing. But you go to, like Stowe, or Norwood has some, Westwood has some of their town village things, they have some of these things, like you would find on a gazebo. Gazebos often have them on the corners. That might, and then have it screened, so then it's open. I wasn't happy when it was 6, but I'm happier that it's 4. And I have to bear in mind that almost everyone says some concern is parking. I don't have to convince anyone of that. Parking is huge anywhere around here. But trying to work with it, how do the commissioners feel about something like that? And that doesn't mean you have to accept my idea, because it's my idea. I'm just trying to think, is there a way to make this acceptable?
I think I'm even thinking something even simpler.
Okay.
You know, you could just do, for the amount of people that ride this, or who will ride it, I think it's a lot of space, you know, in the town, where, you know, you could do, as I said before, just a wooden post, and on top of it, a wooden trolley, you know, so people know, and have a schedule right on the post of the trolley schedule. Keep it simple, stupid, you know. I don't think we need, you know, benches, and I don't think there are that many people who are waiting for the trolley. Probably, to me, it's probably a spur of the moment thing. If they see it, or they're gonna take their kids for a ride on the trolley.
Or on your post, have one of these benches that goes around the post.
You could have a thing around the post, you know, make it part of the, you know, make it part of the town. I think this is just a lot of work for what we're trying to accomplish. That's my feeling.
Anyone else?
And I think to piggyback on that, right now, we already have some significant bump outs on Main Street that are already there that could accommodate that and not have to use up a parking spot.
Right.
That would be my opinion. Personally, I don't think the change in design, if it's still sitting in a parking spot and it's still going to have benches and seating and stuff like that, I just don't see that being part of the character of a...
When something's temporary, it looks temporary, and, you know.
That's true. Anyone else?
California has some amazing systems going for them where you, like San Francisco has the cable cars and all that stuff, and they're jump on, jump off.
Yeah. I've been on those, and I can't
yeah.
remember what the
And,
stops look like, other than hilly, particularly on.
Yeah, and I, from what I'm hearing here, there's some general unsettling feelings about the black metal square box.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like, from what I'm picking up here, the vibrations for me are, that's probably the biggest issue with this, is those black metal boxes.
That's why I'm trying to get onto
So
something more
if it
historic.
were more, not so contemporary and more in keeping with the 1800s or something like that, if there could be, if you're determined to have a structure, I think these are probably, you're gonna buy these. Nobody's gonna make them in town, right? I mean,
Well, they'd have to be procured through a public procurement process, but.
Yeah, so because you're using public dollars, you gotta go through the whole procurement process.
Yeah.
But someone is dictating the architecture of it, and the compatibility to the entire purpose of a historic commission. So you've kind of set yourself up for a little bit of a beating, because we're all.
With appreciation.
We're all very much into preservation and being careful that what we're preserving stays where it's supposed to stay. And so this is kind of shocking a little bit. Not that what this town wants to do is a great idea, but I think that those of us that are sitting here are still struggling with the black boxes. They may work, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know if you put it up to a vote in the town, to the public, and with some different design changes, that this would be the first prize winner.
I think if you put it up to a vote, do you want parking spaces, or do you want?
Yeah,
Stop. But I think it has the potential to be historic. I don't think the black box is historic. But I think in trying to work with it, I don't know. Jim, I'm sorry, you've put your finger up a couple
Oh,
times,
no,
and I haven't responded.
I think this is all good feedback for Kyle. Maybe a continuation of one more to see if he can take a look at the design one more time, if the commission is
you
willing.
know, a gazebo would probably be a happier option for all of us.
Well, that's why I used
Than
it
a
as an
black box.
example. I mean, we can't put a gazebo there, there's no room for it.
No, of course
But that's
not.
why
But-
a lot of those have that historic feel to, because they do have it. And I know you've put a lot, the plan has put a lot of hard work into this, and it is appreciated. Commissioner Cronin?
And then, do they still need to be in a parking spot? That's the biggest, one of the biggest things,
I
too.
think my question, I was thinking about saying the same thing, but then what do? You take it on the sidewalk.
If you put it on the sidewalk, though, then there's gonna be somebody parked right where whatever you put on the sidewalk, they're gonna be
Yeah,
parked
no, I got
there.
it.
Not well, yeah.
I get it.
There are bump outs,
Yeah,
like
there are
you
bump
said.
outs.
There are bump outs
There are
on
bump
Main
outs.
Street,
Bump
or there's
outs.
areas where there's already a parking lot right there, which is down in the 500 or 400 block.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And you have parking lot down by, unfortunately, down by that hotel down at the other end of Main Street.
Well-
But the trolley, I think, doesn't,
Oh, yeah.
it goes down, doesn't it go around the Rotary, or does it take a left on C Street? I didn't notice that.
I thought it went around the
Thought it
rotary
turned
and then
at
came
C
down to
Street.
Yeah, I
C.
think
It
it
comes
does.
down to
C
C
Street.
Street,
Okay.
doesn't it?
Yeah, okay, it does turn
Yeah.
on C Street. Okay.
And they're not operating right now, right?
Yeah, it's seasonal, correct.
Yeah.
They're not out there.
So I think April they come out? Somewhere, May? Oh, they probably come out for Memorial Day, yeah.
Memorial Day, yeah, and Labor Day. between-
And what time do the last run, I think, is 8:30? Hear it running down South Street.
Yeah, I'm not sure. 9:15 looks like.
Is the last pickup?
Is when it ends, I guess.
Oh, they probably end it down on Main Street to 9:15.
I think that somehow this is doable, my personal opinion. And it, you know, I'm only one voice here. I always say that, I'm just the conductor here. But I think, I agree that it doesn't look historical, but I think it can look historical. And I think that, you know, I think it can be adjusted in such a way. The question is the spaces, and how would you feel about coming down to 3?
Can I ask a question, though, too? Is there a reason it has to be down Main Street?
Well, that's a good question.
It's going to still go down Main Street, and you can still have some signage, but if you pick it up in other areas where maybe there isn't any right now, but people could walk down to C Street or, you know, that crossover street, instead of it being in front of a parking spot down there, is that a possibility to, you know, because you also have one down, you could have one down by the transportation center instead of, you know, where the motels are down there. And you've got a new development that just came down off Pleasant Street. There could be, with a better design,
Yeah, I
down in
think,
that area rather than taking up parking spaces on Main Street.
yeah, I understand the Main Street though, because it's kind of the main drag.
It still goes down there. You
Yeah.
just do your wave or have, you know, the map better, but,
Or one of the, stop in the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right.
Yeah, have 3 of them that look historical. The only other thing, I think it's doable somehow. I agree with Jim, if you wouldn't mind too terribly much, how you would feel about continuing. The one thing I would want to say is, whatever is approved on the number, that it would have to come back to the commission if whatever is agreed on if it was going to be increased. I know the shanties were, for instance, 7 of them were approved, and we now have 15. So it will be into the verbiage, I hope, that, you know, that the agreement is the agreement. But I think there is scope here for an agreement, I really do. That's my opinion.
can I make one more comment in
Sure.
that? Can you consider separating the bike rack as a separate option rather than trying to tie it to that? Because I think you make a comment, if you've got your bike, and if you're in the trolley and you got your bike, you've kind of defeated the purpose of somebody riding their bike and not taking the trolley. You want to be able to have that increased bike, and I think we've heard that from a lot of people, that, gee, there's no place to safely park my bike on Main Street. It doesn't necessarily need to be in association with the trolley. It could be down someplace else for consideration. That's all. If you separate the two, it might lighten the weight or the density of that parking spot needed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the trolleys all have bike racks on them, is that correct? We're going to and from the beaches and everything else? I know I've seen.
Yeah.
some
Yeah, it
do.
looks like they do.
I think they
They
do.
do.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people will use it as, like a lot of places you do the bike tours. So I understand the bike rack, but.
But you have to tie it to, can you not, I'd hate to have this saying, well, the historical doesn't want bike racks on Main Street. If you could separate them as a separate, so that you could bring something forward that would be, it would serve your purpose of that multiple, mobility on Main Street too.
You mentioned earlier that you were gonna have to outsource this once the decision was made. You were gonna have to go through the purchasing
Procurement,
process.
correct, yep.
So the people you're going to contact to buy this from, do they have other options?
In terms of,
Design.
well, there's other materials that can be used. We used the black steel because we thought that was in most keeping
Well,
with
it's
your
also
guidelines.
part of your restrictions
Right.
is steel. So I'm just wondering if a company that makes this product specifically for what you're doing with it, do they have some other options that aren't so rectilinear? And would they have an option where we could get some New Orleans kind of curlicues on it instead of having it to be all straight and flat?
That's what I was gonna ask, instead of coming back with like one more option, is it not reality to have a couple of things for us to look at, or is that like, that's gonna be a whole other issue?
I think that's a great idea.
Well, one of the issues here is we're in a bit of a chicken and an egg situation where I'm not gonna be able to get good designs from companies until we go out to the procurement process.
Yeah.
But I can't go out to the procurement process until the
So that's not a
specifications
catalog item.
are finalized.
Well, this must have been a catalog item.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So do they have a catalog that's available?
They do have a catalog. It doesn't really depict the kind of options that you guys are referencing in terms of intricate design. And well, the reality is this is supposed to be a flexible, modular, somewhat temporary seasonal project. So with that, there's,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to get this intricate design. And in terms of requesting continuance, the direction I've received from above is that, the project is parklets along Main Street. So happy to go back and try to amend the design if we think there's a feasible option. But if the parklets on Main Street is the deal breaker, I'm not sure that we can rework it and within the guidance I've been given, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I'm struggling with, I guess, Jim, do you think we should probably just request a continuance? Is that what your recommendation would
There's
be?
some opportunities here to make it work. I've heard a lot of good suggestions here. I mean, yes, I did review the scope of the grant, and it is parklets on Main Street. It's a way to enhance and enliven Main Street through site amenities. So, I mean, that is what's going to come back to you. But I hear a lot of good opportunities to maybe enhance the design slightly.
I would suggest looking at gazebos, because that's very 1800s, very historical. I mean, I know you're not going to put a gazebo in there, but it'll give you an idea what I'm talking about as opposed to my chicken scratch.
Yep.
Is everybody, any,
Clarification, though.
Commissioner Cronin?
If this is the direction, if we're having parklets on Main Street, and if we were to, let's hypothetically say we voted tonight and it doesn't, we didn't have enough to pass it, what would happen? It would just, they'd put something else up, or what would happen to that?
Well,
I'm just
saying if
trying to
we
think
went to a
of-
vote tonight and it didn't pass?
Yeah,
Well, it wouldn't pass, and then it would have to be a reapplication, but we always try if we can to make something work somehow, if it seems that it can work, but if it can't, it can't. Jim?
And in addition,
that's what I was just hearing Kyle say, was that the direction is parklets on Main Street, but I think that, I'm just wondering, is it possible to get the design that would kind of open it up a little bit for that, or are we looking at, we're gonna get the same thing, just maybe?
I don't think, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you're saying that you're going to go back and they're going to say this is it and that's that. I think the people are
but
going to be
I
willing
guess
to work with
the
it.
expectation setting I want to make is I'm not sure we'll be coming back with the kind of idea that Tom was referencing with the wooden sign, with the simple wooden sign,
Oh,
because
no,
that's
no,
not
yeah.
what the scope of the grant is. That would be,
right, so that's right there. That's the crux
Yeah.
of the matter. It's state money, it's state-funded grant, so it would be returning the $60,000 or $70,000.
the $400,000.
400, yeah, sorry.
$1,000.
Not all for parklets,
No, I
but-
didn't think so, because there's a lot of other stuff that you have.
In the budget, I think it's
Present.
200-something thousand for the parklets.
This isn't part of the 300,000, isn't it? No, this is a different grant, okay.
So for $200,000, they're looking to spend it for parklets.
So the state has a program to enliven Main Streets post-COVID. And so this is one of the very well-done programs throughout the state. Somerville, Cambridge, Boston, pretty much any population that has a decent Main Street has utilized this program post-COVID to try and enhance with temporary parklets or similar structures of that nature to improve their Main Street. So Barnstable was successful in receiving a pretty sizable grant to do this. So that's why my recommendation to the Cal is let's go back and let's try and rework something here, because it's a sizable grant that you know, I think the town hates to give back money to the state.
Oh,
if-
no, no.
If we can keep it in town.
We wanna keep it in town and let it work for the town.
Is it just for the trolley?
It's multimodal improvements to enhance Main Street. And so we collaborated with the trolley and the bid to bring some enhancements to things like the trolley, things like the bike racks, and others to try. And in addition, we made sure we added features like lighting, because whatever we're doing, we wanted to make sure, because the bid specifically has been really pushing to try and improve lighting in every location we
They've
have.
done a good job. Commissioner
One of
Cronin?
the things, I did look at that grant in some of the other cities, especially in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, that have done some things, and one of them was also the safety of the walkability and things like that, so that parklets are part of the options, but there are other options within that grant that other cities and towns are using, like handicap access and lighting, lighting in their greens or in areas where, on Main Street, where they don't have the uplighting or anything like that, so that you can safely walk from one end to the other, but a lot of it was like traffic, traffic,
I didn't understand.
things
the
like
grant.
that.
There's a lot of things we could do,
Right, and that's,
the town, to increase Main Street instead of 4 trolley stops.
but this, I guess that's where I'm thinking, is that's where they're coming back with saying, this is one idea that they could
Right.
use the grant money for, but it's not the only thing that they could go back and,
Yeah, I think lighting is so important. It
Lighting is.
draws people to the place of town, like, you know, you could do, you know, more uplighting on buildings.
You can't go on private property, Tom.
True.
That's getting into private property.
Right.
right,
So it's public spaces is the grant.
right.
I know
Sidewalks and such.
Elizabeth lost money for all the lighting in the trees.
Right.
You know, and it could be used there. You know, to brighten up Main Street, you know, that's what I would use that money for.
That's what this is.
Yes, I like the lighting in the trees very much. Can I make a suggestion with regard to the lighting in the trees? The lighting, again, I do feel this is too modern, but my personal opinion, match the lighting in the trees instead of these ultra-modern cones that they have in there. Do the bulbs smaller. You don't want those huge bulbs in there, but blend it in with the rest of the street. You can see, in other words, if you, I was just circling, because there's
Yep,
bulbs in the
I get
trees,
where you're
yeah.
going with it, yep.
Yeah, that would blend it in and make it part of it. That would be my suggestion. I think we're going the right way, you know, whatever. But,
That's the last thing you want
Yeah,
to
you
do,
could-
is stand on the way of that
This-
grant.
You know, you could do the lighting in the green, do the trees going down, you know, from Main Street right down to the town hall.
We do have a separate active grant for the green.
Separate
Yeah, we're actively working on that.
yeah, I suggested that at one stage
Oh,
and
you did, okay.
didn't go anywhere. But, okay, is there anything else? Can I close public comment? One of these guys, you're going to set up 3 people running in just to say public comment, right? Are you okay for us to continue this?
Sure, yep.
And the next meeting is? Mine. March 1st, and there's March 15th. Do you want March 1st?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I would suggest that we continue this. Is there, well, I'll make the motion that we continue it to the next one. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cronin. Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin?
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos?
Aye.
Commissioner Kay? I also say aye. I think we've made progress.
All right, thank you.
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and thank you very much for your
Thank you.
patience. Okay, we have no new business tonight. How many do we have on for the next one? March 1st? So, was there something about matters not reasonably anticipated? No, there were not. Jim, thank you for your input and all your hard work on this. So, approval of the February 1st, 2023 3 draft minutes. Everyone had a chance to read them? Erin does a great job on those, thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 18th as written.
Thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Doherty. Seconded by Commissioner Doherty. So Commissioner Doherty, that was an aye. Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
Commissioner Kernan?
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos?
Aye.
I also say aye. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy belated Valentine's Day. I hope everyone had a great one. And, motion to adjourn? Or, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Kernan?
Aye.
Commissioner Despotopoulos?
Aye.
I also say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.